My name is Emma Ko. I'm a production designer, art director in the ADG, and a member of the DEI committee, as well as the AD Council. I was pre-med and fine art during undergrad, and once it was time to graduate, I made the conscious decision of pursuing a creative track. And with all my skill sets, especially in sculpture, painting, drawing, and photography, I decided to go into film. And so my first job out of undergrad was a PA for an indie film that my friend was producing. And so from there, I learned all the things that it takes to be in the art department from the PA perspective. And so I was doing props, I was set dressing, I was helping with construction sometimes. And so that's where I got to really understand the scope of work that goes into the art department and how closely related it was to what I did in undergrad. Growing up, because my parents would try to limit my TV intake, but I would, beg them to let me go to the theaters every Friday and watch a movie in the theater. Or on Sundays after church, I would go to Blockbuster and I'd rent maybe 3 to 4 DVDs or VHSs at the time, and just kind of like intake and inhale as much as I could of film. But in terms of my influences in my creative direction, I would say Cindy Sherman, Francesca Woodman, and Gregory Crutzen were huge influences in how I got to understand how to compose a shot, how to frame the colors, and all how like mood and lighting, all of that can really propel you into a different dimension or a different world rather, just from a still. And so I think with my fine art background, that really helped kind of push me along in what I do as a production designer. I think I love being able to conceptualize from script onto paper and then onto, into the frame on the camera. And being there on set and seeing the frame come to life is just like the most rewarding feeling and the most gratifying and humbling feeling as well, because you put so much effort, so many man hours, you have so much collaboration with so many different people, and it really is like seeing a painting just kind of like become one. I'm probably most proud of an indie film I art directed back in 2015 called Spawn Night. It premiered at Sundance Film Festival. It was one of the first, it's very rare at that time to see Asian American films, let alone Asian American queer films. And when it comes to stories that I gravitate towards when I production design or art direct, I really want to make sure that I do films that speak to my soul and my culture and my identity and what I can bring from those experiences to the table. So Spa Night, for example, is a Korean American film that was shot in Koreatown, where I was raised, where I grew up. And so being able to work on that was huge for me at the time because I spoke so much to the main character and what he was going through with his parents and the pressure of being the only child, and I'm also an only child. So I'm first generation Korean American. My parents were born and raised in Korea and immigrated here somewhere between their early 20s and mid 20s. But being Korean and being raised by my grandmother is a huge influence on me, and I always joke with my cousins because no one really in the family speaks Korean anymore. And so I feel like the last Korean in my family. And so culture identity is huge and part of who I am and what I bring to the table, and especially in terms of perspective. Most recently, I production designed a short film called Red, White, and Blue that highlights pro-choice and the difficulty of women in those positions, especially in middle America, having to go to the lengths of traveling without money or help or support, and having to make really tough choices when the world won't let them. And so that went to the Oscars this past year, and I would have never thought that this film would have gone as far as it had, but we really did pour our hearts and souls into this film, and for no money. Very little money, and the fact that I got to make a film about women, for women, and then by women was everything. Having the film go to the Oscars and have that honor was huge, and was also a moment for my mother to kind of realize, oh, okay, now I get it. Like, she's not doing this for the money. She's not doing this for the glitz and the glamour. She's doing it because this really means something to her. I think it's really important that what we see in front of camera is also represented behind the camera. And so that's where I think diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially the inclusion part, is super important and pivotal to what we do and why we do it. Because if we're going to be telling stories of, you know, people of color or marginalized communities, it's really important that the people who are making the film and the content have experience and have some kind of attribution to that story and bring that to life, but also being able to create authenticity in front of the camera. Know who you are, and be kind to yourself and have compassion for yourself, because this industry is really hard. And it's not only hard because of, you know, competition, but it's hard because there's so many moving parts to it, and nothing is ever going to be one streamline. It's always going to be ups and downs. And, you know, when there are the down moments, I think it's important to go back within and kind of figure out like what's important to you and what you want to bring to the table and to the world.